I'll have Mark's. We got all those logos, so they don't look boxy.
Good evening. I'd like to call the February 5th, 2019 City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. If we could have Troop 64 coming up and everybody rise for our invocation and our pledge. Invocation from our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask, and the pledge by Troop 64.
You want to wait till?
Yep, come on up. You can stand right there. You stare at us and we'll stare at you.
All right. Our Heavenly Father, as the citizens of the city of Oldsmar meet together to address our local concerns and opportunities, we give thanks to you for the bounty that we enjoy in all aspects of our community life. We ask for your inspiration to strive for excellence in our endeavors to serve the public and grant us peace in our world and harmony between all people to your greater glory. This we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, guys.
Go ahead, start us off.
Scout salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why don't you go back behind the microphone and tell us your guys' names and what you're doing here tonight.
Well, my name is Mark Leishold. I'm the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 64, and I'm doing a merit badge where I take notes on a town hall meeting, so that's what I'm here to do.
Awesome. We might even get into a fight tonight, who knows?
My name is Brian. I'm the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader, apparently, and well, I'm the Senior Patrol Leader, actually. And I'm...
Promoted yourself?
Last week.
Happens around here all the time.
We do it all the time.
And I'm here to take notes.
Awesome.
Welcome. Hello, my name is Mateus, and I am trying out for the troop, and I'm just here to take notes.
Nothing, note taking. Who else? Y'all got names? I'm sure you do.
My name is Eric. I'm not even a Boy Scout. I'm just here to take notes.
Start young.
My name is Andrew Carson, and I'm also here to take notes.
Note taking. Nice.
My name is Gabriel Colley, and I'm here
I guess you're taking notes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Who's that? There you go, Kathy. I think our minutes will be done.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for the Scouts.
We're glad to have you, and thank you to your parents for getting you involved in the troops. Our first item is our Citizens Open Forum. We only have a couple of rules. You state your name and address clearly for the record. Keep it to no more than 5 minutes, and there are no public hearing items, so you can address anything on tonight's agenda as well, and you can take notes if you would like. Anybody on this side of the room? Yep, Jerry?
Good evening, council members and mayor. Jerry Antozzi, 509 Shore Drive East. I'm here to announce a program that the Oldsmar Historical Society is going to have this Saturday, February 9th. We're going to have it at Tico Hall, Oldsmar Public Library, because of the technology and the slides, the screen coming down. But the program is going to be about Native Americans in the Tampa Bay area. And it's going to be presented by Rebecca O'Sullivan, Florida Public Archaeology Network, from 10 a.m. to 11. So Boy Scouts, come on out. Maybe you can earn a badge or something with this information. And all those that are interested, please come out. It should be fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room? Just consider, yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a while since I've seen you all. My shift changed. I'm available on Tuesdays. I've been watching your antics on YouTube, having a good time. Chuckle here, chuckle there.
I got a haircut just for you tonight, because I
saw that. Yeah. I want to speak to item 12 on the agenda tonight.
Your name.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Dale Rembuer, 403 Arlington Avenue East, Oldsmar. It's not a public hearing. It's just that letter of agreement.
Yep.
I'll speak to it then.
You can go ahead and speak to it now, and if I
And
feel
I won't have a
necessary-
dialogue. I'll just be talking, and then you'll forget what I said. Right?
We got a pretty good memory. They're taking notes.
Yeah? Well,
And if I feel the need, I'll bring you back.
I love this idea. It's like better than the last one, right? And as chair of the planning board, I'm sure I'll be involved. And as long as School Street stays closed. That's my whole gig right tonight. All right?
We can remember that.
Pedestrian walkway only. We're having so much foot traffic through Arlington anymore. We had 2 people come by last night trying to sell cleaning products. It was 7 o'clock at night. It was dark out. They were invasive as all get out. There was a guy in the shadows, a third person. I don't know if it was one of those come in the front door while you sneak around back things. Spooked us. We called 911, talked about it. But the foot traffic in Arlington has increased over the years. I mean, that's normal, right? A lot of hotels, businesses. But this development will do the same thing. Now, I'm okay with that, but we also need to be aware and, like that's why School Street pedestrian. And we'll be talking more about it.
I don't think I'd worry about School Street.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I've been fighting this for how many years now? Come on.
We could just discuss it if you want to have a good night, Dale. I know you've missed us.
And then there's the State Street ditch, but when you're mayor, I'll bring that back.
Thank you for that.
It's been 5 years since I brought it up the last time you ignored me, so, it's time for me to come back.
I guess every
about
mayor
that.
gets their opportunity.
Yeah.
Your turn next.
Yes.
God bless y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Good to see you.
Anybody else on that side of the room? No? Anybody on this side of the room? Yep.
Hey, Ginger Tadazeski, 303 Park Boulevard. Hello, you guys.
Hello.
So I don't know if I'm off base with this or not, but a couple weeks ago, I took the grandkids to Olds Park. It was Martin Luther King Day. It was super busy. And as I'm driving in, I see there's no parking spots. So I said, okay, there's a car pulling out. I want to pull around the car circle and wait for the car to pull out so I can get a spot. And as I pull around the car circle, a golf cart comes in behind me. And I have to stop at the end because the car's not out yet. I look in the rearview mirror and the golf cart is like this far away from me, almost hit me. And I go, well, we're lucky about that one. So we went to the park and we saw the golf cart later. And my granddaughter knew the kid driving. She's 13. And she was driving little kids around. So I called Pinellas County Sheriff, and they correctly said that they don't need to have a driver's license to drive a golf cart in Oldsmar. Wrong. That's what they told me, and I looked it up, and it's not on our thing. It's on every other city's thing. I looked up their application to get a golf cart. It specifically says on every other city that allows them, you must have a valid driver's license. Ours doesn't say that. I just looked before I came. I just looked to make sure I was right before I came. So maybe I'm wrong, but the sheriff told me
I would never say that to you.
But the sheriff told me I was wrong, and I thought,
Deputy, can you come just set that straight, and maybe we can get her something and
make sure that it's
on our
widely.
document.
well, I'd like to see what you guys think the application says, because I couldn't find it on there.
Deputy Cacklo, Community Policing. Yes, you have to have a valid driver's license.
Yeah.
So they have to be 16 years old and they have to possess a valid driver's license.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to straighten that out because I would hate to say. And then later on, between now and then, I've seen other kids driving around here. Then they're not 16. I believe they're not 16, and they're driving other little kids around on the street. So it's like a recipe for disaster.
And do they all have to go through and fill out the application, or can people just drive golf carts without going through that?
For the city? So they can, as long as they're a golf cart community. But in Oldsmar, you have to have the sticker as well. So other cities, you have to, anywhere if you're driving a golf cart, you have to be 16 years old.
So let's say I got a golf cart and I have a license and I fill out the application, I get does everybody in my household that's eligible to drive that golf cart have to like be registered?
No.
So just
the
owner.
driver.
Just the driver.
And that's why probably they let the kids drive.
But they still shouldn't, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a recipe for disaster.
Can we confirm that it's on our application, or whoever's got? Where does that come from?
It's in the code.
Huh?
It's on your website. It's right on your website.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
We'll double check.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to I just think that's a really bad thing.
We probably just need to send a flyer out to.
Yeah. I told the little girl, and then I thought I was wrong, and I told her the wrong thing. But okay.
But I will tell you, even like in Eastlake where my parents live, I see young teenagers driving on the.
Yeah, I don't trust a 13-year-old to drive a motor vehicle. So yeah.
Okay.
We put in the water notices as a reminder.
Yeah, or
what
something.
the qualifications are.
Do we know who it is?
My granddaughter knows who it is, but since then I've seen other kids doing the same
I just
thing.
was
So
curious.
it's not a one-time
I mean, not that
thing.
we have to, but if we knew who.
That's how I knew she was 13, because my granddaughter knew her.
That they've actually done their paperwork and let them know
Well,
that.
it's probably a good thing to do before there's a horrible lawsuit.
Or maybe, do we have a registry of who's filled out all these things? So maybe we send them.
Stickers, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe
We'll
we
take
send a reminder to let them know that we've noticed some underage
All right, thank you.
drivers. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginger.
And thank you for bringing it to our attention. Anybody else on this side of the room? Yep. Uh-oh.
Hello, Amanda, 135 Eastlake Club Drive. And as Poet Laureate of Oldsmar, I have brought a poem. And since it's February, I did write a mushy gushy one today. So this one's about love that I have for my husband, love that I have for coffee, and love that I have for home. It's called Finding Love in Coffee. I've never found love in the air. I once peeked at it from my coffee. No cream or sugar, because his reflection was enough to sweeten it. I've never seen hearts in a pair of eyes, but I do witness swirls of latte foam in patterns reminding me of the bonds of home. Thank you. I also kept that one short because last month I challenged City Council to write a poem based on their New Year's resolution. So I have one poem here that was forwarded to me. Tom, do you want me to read that one, or do you want to read yours?
Let Tom read it.
No, that's quite all right.
That's a treat.
No, that's quite all right. Go ahead.
Okay, so this one is from Tom Trask. It's called Contented Pudge. Our happiness led us to get a bit flabby. The new year has opened our eyes. Though walking pre-dawn can make us quite crabby, we feel great to be down a size.
I like it.
Did you get mine?
I did not. That was the only poem that I got. But if you brought one, would you like to read it?
He says that every time, Amanda.
Oh, okay.
I sent it to you and Ann. It's okay.
Did anyone else bring a poem too?
I chicken scratch one because I forgot to bring it.
Yeah.
So I rewrote it up here.
Uh-huh.
And it really is nothing like
You
what I
should
wrote
read it.
before. I'll read it.
The poem I forgot.
He tells you he forgot it, but I
Yeah,
like I did. He didn't
I didn't bring it with me because I forwarded it to you and Ann, and then
You got your email right there. Pull it up.
no.
Exactly.
Here it goes. Now, you asked us to talk about New Year's resolution, right?
Yes.
Okay. I look ahead, my goals are clear, but it's hard to believe it's a brand new year. As I sit and ponder what will be, it's becoming certain there's a lot of meetings ahead of me. I'm happy and proud to serve our city. If I don't do well, Mayor Beavis said it won't be pretty. The city has great history, built by leaders from all around, and I hope when I'm done, all will find joy in a new downtown.
I like it.
I'll send it to you.
You're campaigning in your poem?
It's a big promise right there.
Pathetic. It
Big
is
promise.
pathetic, isn't it?
All right, you're right. I found it in my sent box. Thank you, Doug. You want me to read this?
Yeah.
Go for it.
My poetry.
Act it out.
Now, my poetry challenge. I only have time for the truth is the name of my poem. 2019, a year for reading. Seldom have I had time or liked to read a book or two. It is always the news or a short story to keep abreast of the times. The new year has brought nonfiction into my life, for I only have time for the truth. Profiles of Courage, A Nation of Immigrants, and Why England Slept by John F. Kennedy have started my new year off right. The Strategy of Peace, Set Your Compass True, Let the Word Go Forth are next in line. Prelude to Leadership will close out the books of the 35th President of the United States, but it will not end there for me. 2019, a year for reading, the truth will be learned.
I love that one. Thank you for sharing.
That's what we're up against when we finally give ours.
I got mine right here. You ready? Let me ask you, Tom, you do a lot of city councils. You got any other cities that read poems?
This is the only city I've got.
Resolutions. This year I will. Wake up and be awesome. Try, try, try. Dream big. Live life colorfully. Relax. Create every day. Choose happy. Dance in the rain. Stay weird. Chase adventure. Do what I love. Do what I love. Think outside the lines. And believe I can. And I would like to thank the fine writer of Pinterest for my poem. There we go. Lovely. At least I thought.
Your creativity eludes yourself.
I thought of it last minute. Ms. Nixon, do you have one?
Do not.
Mr. Beaverland?
No, I played your game.
Oh.
I will bring one to the next one, Amanda, for you. That will not come from Pinterest.
I'll work on a real one next time. Anyway, well, thank you.
You're very welcome. And there will be no challenge this month. I'm only going to challenge you every other month, but I have plans for next month, so get ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Their notes will be interesting at the end. They're going to say they
Yes.
read poetry the whole night.
Our leader has a poem.
My name is Vance Brammer, and I live at 401 Country Club. When I moved to Oldsmar 8 years ago, the planning person who has since retired told me that the reclaimed water was going to be available on Country Club in 2 years. Well, that was 8 years ago. So I was just wondering, is that still on the agenda to have reclaimed water on Country Club south of Dunkirk?
I don't want to speak out of school, but hasn't that been revisited, that financially that didn't make sense, that there were not going to be enough people that were going to hook up to it? Am I paraphrasing that?
Nan, you want to speak to that? But I think that's it.
I think we did a survey, and of all the homes there, the cost to put it in and the number of people that were going to hook up to it just didn't make sense, Nan. Our public works director, she wasn't here when that was said, but it's a great question. Fair.
Well, there is a history there.
Yeah.
As part of the Harbor Palms design, there was an evaluation by our rate consultant, PRG, and they looked at the fiscal reasonableness of doing it and the payback rate, and it was more than 45 years payback rate. So at that point, there was a decision by the council to pull reclaimed water out of Harbor Palms, and they also considered at the same time the country club neighborhood and the usage and versus the cost there, and said at that point that it really wasn't reasonable from a cost perspective, and it was pulled out of the plans at that point. That was maybe a year and a half ago?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
Thanks, Nan.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room like to address the council? No, thank you. All right, I will give you the mayor's recap and some items coming up. Upcoming events, reminders, Experience Oldsmar magazine. The February through May 2019 Experience Oldsmar magazines are available for pickup. Grab your copy at City Hall, the Public Library, State Street Center, or the Cypress Forest Rec Center to discover the many classes, programs, and events our departments have this spring. And they have them right here, so you can get them at mostly all of our public offices. USA BMX Gator Nationals, Friday, February 22nd through Sunday, February 24th at the Oldsmar Sports Complex. Annual BMX event hosted at the Oldsmar BMX track this year is a UCI Challenge World Class Championship qualifier for a U.S. rider. Free admission, parking $10 a day or $25 for the weekend. Visit rideoldsmar.com for more details. I don't recall the numbers exactly, but for those of you and our kids that are here tonight, we probably have riders from 18 countries and 30 plus states, I think. In 2016, Mariana Pajon from Colombia and Connor Fields from the United States won the Gator National here, and then they went on to Rio de Janeiro and won the gold medal for their respective countries in BMXing. So pretty neat that they come right through our city. So we're excited to have them back. A recap joint workshop. Ford Pinellas, Board of County Commissioners, PSTA, and the Mayor's Council hosted a joint workshop for our community partners to discuss important joint transportation efforts in Pinellas County. I was there, Felicia was there. I thought it was a great event, and the common denominator is that we need better and more dependable and more frequent forms of transportation, including shared rides, buses, and the likes, as well as bicycles. We Mean Business, our monthly visit by the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber City Manager and myself. In January, we visited Trifecta Networks, which was formerly Vology, and Vology sold that component off to Trifecta Networks and also to Lockheed Martin. We actually got a really nice tour of that facility, and it's incredible what they do in there, the circuitry that they make for almost everything in our military. So that's exciting that it's right here in Oldsmar. Library's 100th birthday party, wonderful job by the Friends of the Oldsmar Library for their 100th birthday and ice cream social. Pinellas County School Board meeting. Our city was honored to be selected as the North County site for their county school board meeting last month. It was a packed house. It was very interesting to see how this county board runs their meetings, and I was here for that, and this place was absolutely packed, and I said, if this would have been a city council meeting, we'd have been freaking out why all those people were here, but it was definitely a full house. Economic Development Forum, congratulations to our Assistant City Manager, Felicia Donnelly, for spearheading and administrating the first Economic Development hosted by our city, Economic Development Forum hosted by our city. It was amazing to see the many community partners, businesses, and stakeholders in attendance, and that is an agenda item that you'll hear a little bit more about as well. And then lastly, you might ask yourself, of course, Forest Lakes widening started yesterday and will be going on for quite some time, and you might ask yourself, what does Forest Lakes widening and a visit to a doctor's office have in common? And if that's your question, we'll tell you right here.
ABC Action News is helping to drive Tampa Bay forward tonight. Major changes coming to an Oldsmar Road. Work beginning today to widen this section here of Forest Lakes Boulevard. ABC Action News reporter Eric Waxler shows us how it will impact people who live and work nearby.
From Action Air Skyview, you can see the work is beginning in Oldsmar. Forest Lakes Boulevard, which runs by homes and business parks alike, will be expanded between Pine Avenue and Racetrack Road. Crews are widening the road into 4 lanes and adding a paved shoulder as a bike lane. There will also be a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides.
I believe we manage our traffic well in Oldsmar, but there's a lot more cars than there is roadway space.
This project will take about 2.5 years to finish. During that time, there will be some detours and lane closures.
I look at it as going to the doctor, you know. The doctor visit is kind of challenging, but when you're done, you're going to feel healthier.
In Oldsmar, Eric Waxler.
I couldn't resist that, could you?
No, I couldn't resist that. I sure wish Daniel was here. He did a great job. So I called him at last minute yesterday and said that they wanted to do it. And I said Al demanded that he get out there and do it. So, but he did a great job. And welcome to the world of the media. So it's exciting. Do we know what the time frame is? How long that project is now?
29 months.
29 months. Thank you, Nan. That wraps up the mayor's minute, so we'll get into our agenda. How's the note taking going over there, guys? Good? All right, good. It's like, what is this goofy guy? Our first item is our awards and recognition, and it's our innovation team presentation and awards, and Felicia is setting that up? Who's setting that up? You are, okay. Or somebody.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. It is Cindy and I's great pleasure to introduce Katie Doherty and Bryn Frazier to present the Inno team's accomplishments for this first year. They started last February, so we're exactly a year from their starting point, and there are future steps for the team. So without further ado, come on up.
Thank you, Felicia and Cindy. As she mentioned, I'm Bryn Frazier. I'm the Recreation Supervisor, and this is Katie Doherty, our Procurement Specialist.
We're back.
We're back. During our year, we had a lot of interesting chances to work with nearly every department within the city. And we had representatives from nearly every department in the city on our team. So I'm just gonna do a quick name if you guys are here. Wave, Trisha, Tom, I don't see him, Anthony, Mandy, you're not Anthony, Katie?
I was waving back.
Mandy, Bill, Katie, and Bryn, Chris Hannon, Renee, Deb, and Garrett. We learned a ton during our year on the innovation team. We delved into a lot of different management techniques and various ways to clean up a process. We learned Lean Six Sigma principles, which is a management philosophy that focuses on maximizing value-added activities and minimizing waste or non-value-added activities. We learned the value stream mapping process. I think that was probably one of my favorite ones. I'm a visual person. It's a visual representation of the flow of information from the beginning to the very end of a process. It shows us where waste could be and where time and or money could be saved. We also learned how to work with many other employees, as I mentioned, especially through our initial interview process. The team divided down and interviewed all 150 employees in the city for our first list of potential projects.
Speaking of those projects, as you all know, because we've come and spoken about them before, in our year one of the innovation team, we completed our Sandmaster 20 project for a sandbagging machine, which is still making the streets and stormwater crews' lives a lot easier. We completed the Pinellas County Waterline project, reusing that water in our scrubbers in the RO plant, which to the best of my knowledge is still going just fine. The global work order process that we were last here discussing with you all is up and running. We're currently utilizing that with our IT department, who has migrated all of their historical work order data into ADG. So they're working out the final kinks while we cross-train other employees throughout the city for inevitable citywide rollout, probably starting with facilities next. And our outgoing team has now laid some foundation to do a little more deep diving into possible robotic uses throughout the city, amongst whatever else we come up with our new team.
Apparently I tried to jump there. As I mentioned before, we learned a lot about working within teams and with various kinds of people. Between that and driving home the importance of data-driven decisions and the methodology to finding that data, we learned a lot to empower us as professionals and leaders. We each took turns facilitating meetings, worked on our public speaking, and learned networking skills that are invaluable to us moving forward.
Obviously, for any team to get better or any process to get better, review and analysis of what went well and what didn't go well is important to make the team better. So as part of that, we obviously solicited feedback from the outgoing members to see and gauge what they thought of the team, what worked well and what didn't. And some quotes were provided from their feedback. What's interesting about the quotes, though, is that there were some common themes that it seems like everybody from the team was able to take away from this, which of course can be applied to any number of other avenues in life, including our own career paths. But namely, most of the team expressed their gratitude and the happiness they felt in being able to creatively think. There was definitely, as Bryn said, having to interview all the employees, as well as work on a team that involved people from every other department, a very strong sense of community, or certainly an improved sense of community among those team members, as well as the opportunity to meet people that they might not otherwise have come in contact with working here at the city. So it definitely gave us a stronger sense of that. Go ahead. In addition, the improvements process was something that they found valuable, and it was also really nice to have an outlet to do some critical thinking and data analysis.
It's a very sensitive clicker. As we closed out the chapter, our chapter on the team, we put together a list of recommendations for the next team to help them pick up where we left off. We suggest establishing a mechanism to create a culture of innovation within the city through the entire city, providing citywide training to train on innovation principles as many other municipalities are beginning to do. Continuing to explore methods of efficiency are the foundation of this team. We look forward to seeing the strides the next team makes in inspiring and energizing the rest of the city to create a smarter and more innovative city through things like furthering our research on robotics and attending things like the Synapse Summit to keep that energy going. We're really excited to see where the next team goes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Felicia and Cindy will come back up.
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
The mic's not on, Jerry.
Thank you, Gabby. Turn my microphone on. Thank you. Part of your plan was to have Garrett go from a clean face to a beard now to a mustache.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I think that
He did not consult the team to make that decision.
What is it? What's next? Bald head?
Charlie Chaplin?
that mustache deserves an award in itself.
Meeting.
That was an easy question. Thank you.
We're thankful for your contributions as a team.
Microphone.
We are thankful for your contributions as a team. We know that you've put in a lot of energy, and we've had about 50 meetings, I think, right? About once a week. So, so thank you for all of that. So we want to give you all an award. So Tricia Bocchino. Garrett Zeliff. Deb Vitrelli.
I didn't know.
No speech.
Anthony Casal. Casale. Mandy Clark. Renee Neiman.
Chief?
Bill Dennis. Katie Doherty. Bren Frazier.
With a bad bum leg, right?
If you all could join us, we'll take a photo.
I don't need to move. I'm behind Al.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. I didn't realize that the team was going to change every year.
Yeah,
Is
I
it?
didn't either. Now, can you give a Reader's Digest version of how this came about? Because I think it's great.
Kind of an idea that Felicia and I had, and Cindy, and we thought it would be an opportunity to kind of learn some things. We also had the benefit, and I think it's appropriate to mention that one of our former employees who was with us for a brief period of time, Michelle Duggan, was absolutely instrumental in, she actually taught the original value stream mapping and kind of our first taste of process improvement, which was fantastic to have that in-house. But we just kind of had an idea that we thought it would be great to think outside the box and try and take advantage of the brains that our employees have for innovative things we could be doing. And in my mind, I think they hit a home run for a one-year assignment. We're not sure we necessarily were thinking of one-year terms when we started, but it's a lot of work. They're not getting overtime pay or anything for the time they put in it. They volunteered their own time, energy, and effort, and I think it worked out pretty well. So it's not necessarily to keep it fresh, but the idea being that they're welcome to participate if they want to. We also want to open it up to other employees if they want to participate, and we'll keep it going. It's great help to me, as much for the opportunity to kind of see everybody get a chance to shine. They have great ideas. I'm not that bright. They have absolutely great ideas. And I think we've energized a lot of people in our workforce, and I think it's paying great dividends on many fronts. I saw a presentation today by Bill that, wow. And that had nothing to do with the innovation team. It had to do with him teaching us. As you know, at State Street Center now, this wasn't born from the innovation team, but it kind of came to us that with the State Street Center, we now have a computer training lab, which we've never had before. And so far, am I right? All of our training has been in-house. So our own employees are doing the training, wow. And it's fabulous. And you see it from both sides. The trainers are running with it. The employees are engaged. It's kind of another kind of portion of that. So process improvement, getting better at what we do every day, trying to get smarter, trying to commit to that effort. That's what it's all about for me. But I'm very grateful to you guys because you guys are the first team.
Awesome. Very good. For those that are here, one of the first ones that they did was, I don't remember the piece of equipment, but it was basically automated sandbag filling because if you've been here when we've had our sandbag deployment across the street, very labor intensive, requires a lot of our employees' time and energy and sweat and backs. And we really think at the time of a storm, our city staff should be doing other things than filling sandbags. So there's an automated apparatus that hooks to the front of a Bobcat, and it fills
20 at a time.
20 sandbags at a time. You hook the bags on, you scoop up the sand, you shake it down, and they fall, and basically it ties itself. And what do we have stockpiled? 2,500 sandbags that we have now stockpiled, so our staff isn't out there doing
And I'll
that.
tell you, our citizens appreciate it. Otherwise, they're out there filling the sandbags.
Yeah.
And so it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's just much more efficient, and we can concentrate on doing other things, preparing for a storm. So thanks to the innovation team. And will some of them be on it? No, new ones? What, a little bit of everything?
A little bit of both.
Okay, awesome.
Up to them.
Nothing on our CRA. Next is the consent docket, a couple items. Approve the minutes of the January 15th, 2019 City Council meeting. Approve a one-year extension with Jones Edmonds and Associates, JEA, for RFQ 2014-05, General Engineering Services for Transportation and Stormwater. Approve work order number 03 for Forest Lakes Boulevard Utilities Relocation Construction Services under the General Engineering Services for Utilities Professional Services Agreement 2018-007 RFQ with Jones Edmonds and Associates. And finally, approve the tentative agenda for the February 19th, 2019 meeting. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next is the City of Oldsmar. It's the presentation of the National 211 Day Proclamation. I will go ahead and read that and then present it to Mickey and Sally, and they can tell us a little bit about it. National 211 Day, whereas every hour of every day, someone in the United States needs essential services for basic human needs to securing adequate care for a child or aging parent. And whereas 211 is a free and easy to remember telephone number connecting people to information about critical health and human services available in their community, volunteer opportunities, and improving the way in which people learn about and connect with the services they need. And whereas 211 Tampa Bay Cares Incorporated, a nonprofit organization, provides 211 services via a 24/7, 365 call center accessible to everyone, regardless of language spoken or physical ability. And whereas 211 provides confidential, judgment-free interactions with trained 211 specialists who are able to help people get to the root of their concerns and who can provide available options for health and human services assistance. And whereas 211 provides an online database of over 4,000 health and human services programs and Pinellas located on the 211 Tampa Bay Cares Incorporated website, 211tampabay.org, and whereas 211 serves as a support system for emergency management to help disseminate critical information, assist people through disasters, and provide a long-term connection to relief and recovery services. Now, therefore, I, Doug Beavis, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim February 11th, 2019 to be National 211 Day in Oldsmar, dated this 5th day of February 2019. Doug Beavis, Mayor.
Mayor and members of the council, Mr. City Attorney, Mr. City Manager, Madam Clerk, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm proud to be a part of 211 and its leader this year. I sit here looking at your strategic vision statement, and I love it. And I hope you all have it memorized. But more importantly, it talks about partnering. And that's what we do too. And thank you for partnering with us, because you have done that. You've given a small, but still an intended help to 211. And we had 580 calls from Oldsmar that came into 211 for people. And, you know, it's all kinds of situations. It might be people who are, it might be a person who is a part of the federal government shutdown that was in need. Or we have people that have are thinking of suicide. I mean, we have a whole range of kinds of things. It might be somebody that's just hungry and needs to know where to go for food. So we have, I think we're a responsive group, but we also have we're doing a strategic plan right now that will not be sitting in somebody's bottom drawer, because the facilitator that is working with us is assigning off to everyone projects that we've got to work on, and that's really important for us to do. We have a very engaged board, and I'm very proud of what we do, and we want to do better all the time. So thank you, Mayor, for being a part of this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Well, just want to remind folks that in addition to calling, it's a free call. You can dial those 3 digits, 211, on your phone. You can also text us with 211. Some folks, maybe you're working, maybe are struggling with an issue, and you don't want to talk about what's going on in front of others. You can text your zip code to 898-211, and that'll help route you into our center as well. So we want to certainly, again, thank everyone each and every year for the City of Oldsmar for supporting National 211 Day. You're celebrating with 230 other communities across the nation as well. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Want to do a picture real quick?
That's sure.
While they're taking the picture, Sally Parks was on the county commission for many years. One of the driving forces for the county.
One more. There we go. Better. Okay. I can see on the back. I know.
And the next item is just housekeeping. Approve the reappointment of Rita Clark as board member of the Code Enforcement Board. Is Rita here?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't see you come in. Rita, come on up. You can come up. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Good job.
Rita Clark, 304 National Orange Avenue, Oldsmar, Florida.
What is the funnest thing about being on code enforcement?
People who don't understand code enforcement.
I bet, yeah.
But I really appreciate Tom this year. He put together a book that really, I've started reading it already, and I can see where it's going to be a big help on the board.
Good. Any questions of Rita? No, thank you.
Thank you,
we
Rita.
appreciate you coming tonight.
They caught that on camera.
Thank you, Rita.
Rita?
We need a motion.
What was all that?
We haven't
What
approved-
was
we haven't
all that
approved
about?
you
I haven't
yet.
approved you yet. Don't be going anywhere.
To save that for after.
You mean your action? Oh, I was doing that to Al,
I will
not
make
you.
a motion to approve.
Motion. Do I have a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now you're free to
Can
go.
you get turned down? I'm just kidding. Is that possible? Okay.
If
Well, I'll
Eric's
make sure I
asking
have my
questions.
driver's license with me on my golf cart. That's
Yeah, right? Yeah,
Thanks, Rita.
thank you. City Attorney?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you.
All
City
right.
Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 8 is an economic development plan update, which Assistant City Manager Felicia Donnelly is going to provide. Felicia?
Hi, good evening. Felicia Donnelly, Assistant City Manager. City Manager Braithwaite asked me to give you all an update of our economic development plan. So we've been working on our economic development plan, and it's one of your council priorities. For 2018 and 19, you requested the development of this plan, and we've started that effort. There are really 3 steps to every plan. There's finding out who we are, there's finding out what we want to be, and then establishing strategies for us to get there. So we have analyzed a whole bunch of data that pertains to Oldsmar's sort of state of the economy. So I'm going to share that with you all tonight. And we have held an economic development focus group session over lunch last week to get some level of community engagement. I want to thank Jerry Custon for assisting in pulling the data, and the chamber for working with the Pinellas Economic Development Department. So at last Thursday's meeting, we had a lot of compliments, and a lot of people were engaged that otherwise haven't been. And so it wasn't, as Al said, the slides that I'm going to show you, but it was the facilitators that helped in the group. We went through some facilitative training for the team members, so I wanted to quickly recognize them and give them a little token of our appreciation. So Karen Beal. Thank you. This is lunch on us because you forewent your lunch to participate for 2 hours standing on your feet. So thank you. Mandy Clark. I can see her tonight. Katie Dougherty. Thank you. Bren Frazier. Susan Hurley. Ann Nixon.
Thank you.
Chip Potts. Jerry Peruzzi helped us, Jason Sanders, and Jerry Custon. So thank you again. I'm going to fly through some of these slides. Okay, so economic development can be defined as efforts that seek to improve the economic well-being and quality of life for a community by creating and retaining jobs and supporting and growing incomes in the tax base. That's what we want for a long-term sustainable economy.
Do we have permission to run that picture from Mr. Buse?
That's what I was wondering.
Thank you, Mr. Buse.
It's official. It's a thumbs up.
So in order to dissect the important components of our economy, we look at 3 different buckets of data: social and demographic, occupational, and industry data. The data was compiled through a variety of state, federal, local sources: U.S. Census, Department of Economic Opportunity, Bureau of Economic and Business Research, Florida Housing Data Clearinghouse, and Pinellas County Economic Development. The first thing that our data shows is that Oldsmar is growing. We're projected to have 6,000 more people here by 2040. That's about a 30% increase. So that's in line with the rest of the state. Second really important part is our age. We're young. Our median age in Oldsmar is 39.3. You can see on this graph, Safety Harbor's 49.3, Clearwater's 44.1, Tarpon's 51, Dunedin's 53, St. Pete is 42. We also have about 20% of our resident composition is the ages between 30 and 44. So that's really important as we go forth. Our median home values are slightly lower than our neighbors. So we're at $230,800, where you can see Dunedin's at $251, Tarpon's at $252, Safety Harbor's at $284. Our education attainment is 27%. That's in line with the state average, but it's a little higher than Tarpon, but it's lower than Safety Harbor significantly. But our 34677 zip code is 42%, and that's pretty high for Pinellas County. That includes Eastlake Woodlands. So the next bucket we look at is occupation data. So these are our top occupations by location quotient in 2018. This is just a snapshot in time in 2018. So the rest of the analysis going forward is only shows 34677 zip code because that's all that was available. We couldn't get Oldsmar specific. So location quotients can tell us what makes us unique. It's a way of quantifying how concentrated a particular industry in our community is compared to other regions. So you can see here, at this point in time, we have a large amount of construction helpers working in Oldsmar. So that could actually just indicate that there was a lot of construction going on at the time. We also look at the same by the top occupations by the average employee earnings. So you can see this is earnings based on people working here, not people who live here. So our executives make $61 for an hour, and you can see the top high wages: advertising, marketing, sales, operations specialists by employee earnings, specific employee earnings. So the next bucket is the industry bucket, right? So kind of 3 buckets. Whoa. So our top industries, what really makes us unique, that's important to keep that in perspective. Computer and electronic product manufacturing, we have 8.67 times the national regional average. That means we have an extremely high concentration. That doesn't surprise me. It probably doesn't surprise you all. Plastics and rubber products manufacturing, miscellaneous manufacturing, all extremely high. Machinery manufacturing, and then we have professional, scientific, and tech services. We're 3 times the amount of concentration for a region. So that's an incredible statistic for us to look at. Our top industry by the number of jobs, we have a lot of professional, scientific, and tech services. We have 3,000 out of a total population of 15,000. So you can see the other kind of top contenders, but we really have a large professional base here. Our top industries by employee earnings are the next slide. So the management of companies here is one of the top industry by employee earnings. And that really doesn't mean what you might think it means, which is, I'm going to read you the definition so I don't miss it, but the management of companies comprises establishments primarily engaged in managing companies or enterprises and are holding the securities or financial assets of companies and enterprises. So there are a lot of holding companies and financial companies. We have a lot of sales generation here. So this is our top industries above 100 million in annual sales. So again, focus on computer and electronic manufacturing, professional, scientific, and tech services. The green marks here mean, well, the yellow mark means that we are an exporter of sales. So it's really important to know that 91% of our top 10 industries, or 91% of their sales, is exported. And so most regions want to be in that position. You don't want to be an importer, you want to be an exporter of your sales. And that has to do with our global economy and our impact. And we look at a local GRP, which is just a gross regional product that's the same as a GDP, kind of in a national terms. So it's a monetary measure of market value of all final goods and services produced in a region. So again, computer and electronic manufacturing are kind of off the charts with that, and professional scientific, insurance carriers, you guys can see all this data. So you can see what you intuitively thought was a driver of our economy here is probably the drivers of our economy. So how do we compare to other places that are local? There's a couple ways that you can compare it. One of the ways is looking at a population, again, that's a population of the zip code and not the population of Oldsmar. And you look at how many jobs and you say, what is that jobs to population ratio? We're at 71%. That's way higher than everybody else. So we have a lot of jobs here. Our average earnings is $63,800. That's also very high compared to all of our neighbors. Again, so the average earnings here reflects people who work in Oldsmar. They don't necessarily live here, but we're offering very high wage jobs compared to the rest of the region. So just a quick summary, we're expected to grow in population, we're young, we have attainable housing, that's the word that they use for kind of workforce housing. We have a slightly lower population of bachelor's or higher degrees than Dunedin and Safety Harbor. We have 3.5 times the number of jobs in the construction and helpers occupation. We have over 100 different occupations here in Oldsmar. While the average earnings is $63,800, the top occupations are executives and operations specialty managers. The industry indicators. Our top 10 industries export 91% of sales. Our manufacturing reflects our uniqueness. You all can see that from the charts. Our GDP total is $1.9 billion. 1.9 billion we produce here in Oldsmar. That's pretty fantastic. We account for 4.4% of Pinellas's overall GDP, but we only have 3.3% of their workforce. So we're creating a whole lot more. And then computer and electronics account for 20% of the GDP, and 6 are in that manufacturing professional. So that's where we are today. And so our next steps are to, we're analyzing the data. We're looking at all the data that we collected from the forum that we held on Thursday. And then we're going to create a list of actionable strategies. And we're going to host another forum for businesses to participate, to input on the strategies, to make sure that we actually have a workable plan, that it's not just a plan that we get, but a plan that is financially feasible and responsible to our community. Do you all have any questions for me?
No, I mean, I thought it was a great workshop, and it was kind of interesting as we kind of talked after the fact. It really kind of depending on who was at your table. I had 3 manufacturers at my table and a banker, and we kind of were leaning one way. But then if you had more business-minded or hoteliers or things like that, their issues might have been different. Have you seen a quick look? Is there any common threads through the feedback?
I'm not ready to talk about that yet. There are definitely a lot of comment. Our location is a high strength of ours, so there's a lot of common threads. We're still just going through the data. Holly is in the office right now with the boards, and she's transcribing word for word. So until I get that all kind of together, which will be this week, we are going to reach back out to the attendees, and we're going to send them a copy of the slideshow along with the data so everybody can see, and we're going to analyze those trends. I just don't have it right now.
Yeah, it seemed like there was.
Can you make sure that it goes out to the council as well?
Oh, absolutely.
I did have a. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I did have a question. At what point will, I'm assuming once you get some more feedback. By the way, I think everyone did a terrific job at that meeting. It was really well done, and the feedback from the businesses here in the community, it was the first time that I remember, I'm sure there's been something similar at one point or another, where that many businesses came together specifically really to give input. They came in with a great attitude, very open. But I think as equally important, if not more important, is because of the way it went, they all want to continue to help. That, you know, that was a very clear vibe that came out of that whole thing. And so the team did a really good job. The question I have for you is, at what point, when you start to get some more concepts in terms of different strategies, I think it might be helpful to have a session with the council to go over those before we get into an approval actually sitting up here. So we could spend a lot of time on it, ask questions specifically, you know, where's what going, and you know, kind of detailed stuff that's not something that would be done sitting up here.
It'll definitely be workshopped.
Yeah.
Good, good. It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting.
That is a glowing report, and I think it's great. But gathering all that data, how true is it?
I think it's true. I think the data accurately reflects what we already know. Pardon?
Who are they?
The sources, Pinellas County Economic Development is the primary vehicle for our sources, but they pull from a lot of different data sources.
The biggest limit to it that I saw was the inability to separate what's truly just us from the zip code. Everything, most people understand, part of the 34677 zip code is in East Lake Woodlands and East Lake Business. Not the whole thing, but part of it. So because we couldn't separate that, because that data wasn't available, some of the conclusions from the data were clearly influenced by that. The median income, that's definitely one, the occupational percentage. So it has its limits, but I think what it pointed out was, and I think to the discussions that we've had before we had the workshop, we're very healthy as we are. And I think that's a great sign. I've heard commentary from the public in the past about affordable housing. Well, that's a double-edged sword, but clearly we're still the most affordable. Now, if you consider that good news or bad news, that's up to you, but our housing stock still appears to be relatively affordable. And if that's included with part of East Lake Woodlands, well, that's even a bigger statement.
Right.
So, I mean, you can do anything you want with it, but I think the overarching theme that we wanted to project when we presented that was that the economy in this zip code, and maybe as a subset, specifically our city, is very healthy.
I believe that. I think it is healthy. I think it's great. I think the city's incredible. But I think this roses it up a little bit.
Well,
makes us look more rosy, that we actually can understand.
Well, if I could, to that point, although we're looking at the geographic boundaries of the city of Oldsmar from an economic impact standpoint, I think East Lake Woodlands and Lockheed Martin, even though they're not physically within our city, are a huge economic component, to the city of Oldsmar. I remember when we did the Rays baseball analysis, and we were looking at, the 20-minute drive and the 30-minute drive. I mean, we, at the 20-minute drive, which I think is still an economic, West Chase is a huge economic contributor to the city of Oldsmar. And so I think it does spill over beyond just the physical boundary
it does,
of the city.
But let's keep that in mind.
And that's why businesses come here. When we do the We Mean Business, that's exactly why they want to be here. That shopping plaza did not get redone just because of the physical boundary of the city of Oldsmar.
I'll tell you too, even like businesses you're trying to attract years back, like communicating with Whole Foods and some of the other organic grocers, they look at a median income within a mile radius. They're not saying only within the city limits of Oldsmar. Someone's not going to come here and say, oh, I just found out Lockheed's not actually in the city of Oldsmar, so I can't go there, because I want to be where Lockheed wants to be. So I think it's a huge economic impact, so I think it's important to include it in the numbers. I personally would wish, to Al's point, the limitation that we could dive a little bit deeper into even being able to remove Lockheed, Nielsen. Those are two huge contributors. I wonder what the impact looks like when you take take them out. Really, is our median income that high? If one of those companies were to leave, we know Nielsen has moved before. If we were to lose one of those, we're really top heavy from a tech and a high salary income, that if we were to lose one or both of those businesses, are we in trouble from an economic standpoint? I would like to see, and that may not be possible, to take them out just to look at that, because we've talked in the past, like driving high-tech jobs to this area is important, and we have two great ones, and maybe we're missing on other opportunity because to Jerry's point, we're a little bit rosier than we are. So if that were possible, that I think would be beneficial.
I mean, another one would be Microlumen is another big
manufacturing.
Yeah. And I mean, to that point, to the fact of taking them away, but what happens if we could attract another one or two like that?
And we will, and we will. It's just a matter that we need to keep it in perspective exactly what we're doing here. When we have a house on Shore Drive East that sells for $1 million, we're in good shape.
And I think it's important to keep it into perspective. So the data doesn't allow us to just pull stuff out like that, or we would have done it.
Yeah.
So, and then also, we're also on the cusp of another census, right? So some of these are all projections off of something that's 10 years old at this point. But it's important to just to realize that we're really looking at the data to establish who we are. So I think that you have to look at the trends of the data to think who we are as a community and what is driving our economy. So kind of, even though it's microscopic perceptions, it's macroscopic. You're looking at it in a bigger picture, just to establish the trends so that we can establish the right strategies. The strategies are the important part of the plan. What are we going to do with the data? What do we recommend that we keep Oldsmar healthy and sustainable? So how do we capitalize on that?
We keep that in our mind.
Absolutely.
That's a very compelling story you shared, though. I mean, I know you and I have talked about this before. I know we'll have a further conversation about strategy maybe at a work session. But I mean, like what City of St. Pete does, they work with a company and the mayor goes out to San Francisco, highest cost of living in the U.S., and they go and they meet with tech companies and they say, here's what we have, this is what we're producing, and oh, by the way, we have a great story.
Here's your state income tax and here's ours.
And here's our income tax, and oh, by the way, we have the most affordable housing in the region, and that's compelling for them and their employees.
What we need to do is send the mayor and the city manager and maybe you to New York, because that's where they're leaving, and bring them down here with all that $1 billion tax dollars.
Felicia, I just want to say that it was a very educational experience for me. I absolutely loved it. For our first economic development luncheon, where we brought all those businesses to Oldsmar, I thought it was amazing. I actually wanted to get up and jump into the other tables to hear what they were saying, because the conversation at our table was so powerful that I loved it. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for what you've done and your team. It was incredible. Everyone who jumped in and worked on that was great. And thank you so much.
Yeah, good first step.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the rest of it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Felicia.
Section of participation too, and I think, there's some pretty heavy hitters there.
Yeah, one other point about the data, which kind of goes to Jerry's point, and it's, I think it was kind of mentioned, but so from a trend standpoint, even if the data is not precise to what we really would like to see, as long as we continue to use the same source as a guide, if it's off by 13% or whatever the percentage is, that trend will still demonstrate itself. And so, because there's a lot of times when we look at things that are like, it's not perfect, but if we're always using not perfect, then we'll see a trend, right?
Right, exactly.
So, I call it dirty math.
Looking forward to seeing the data. I'm looking forward to see what, the whole package. It was very, very impressive.
We're under the sunshine in a way, and thank you for it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, that's like the first survey and analysis that Jerry's actually responded positively to about doing a...
It's not going to happen.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you.
Throw something at me next time.
That was a good one.
Moving on.
Mayor, item 9 is adopt resolution 2019-02, revising the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Resolution 2019-02 is a revision of the budget for this fiscal year. The General Fund, Community Redevelopment Agency Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, Water Sewer Operating Fund, and the Stormwater Utility Fund require adjustment at this time. I would like to read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2019-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, revising the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending September 30, 2019, authorizing the city manager and the director of administrative services to revise the existing budget. Mayor, that concludes the reading of Resolution 2019.
For discussion, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
Just moving along, a lot of money.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
5-0, thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, approve the co-sponsored special event application fee waiver request for Oldsmar Chamber of Commerce Oldsmar Days and Nights event to be held on March 29th through the 31st. The citywide celebration, which takes place in Ari Olds Park, was originally started in 1962 by Oldsmar's volunteer firemen as a half-day picnic named Oldsmar Days. In accordance with our special event guide, the Chamber of Commerce is requesting that the city waive a portion of the fees attributed to this event. This request is for the waiver of fees in the amount of $6,600. This amount includes waiving fees of $3,600 to staff the parade and provide EMT service in the park throughout the duration of the event on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as well as waiving $3,000 in other event and attendance fees. All other fees and costs, including a payment of $1,620 to the city for electricity and a park attendant, will be the responsibility of the event organizer as outlined in the application. Staff recommends approval.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Do we know how that compares to previous years?
Sounded a little high to me, but I'm not sure I could spout exactly what it was last year.
The fee
Relative to other years, is it more that we're waiving?
Or is it in line or close?
The fire rescue wasn't added in last time.
Yeah, I'll get back to you with the details,
I'm
but I
just
think
curious.
it is a little higher. Because of that.
It's a
Thanks.
great event, you know, and I mean, I say this all the time, that, you know, the chamber works their butts off to put on these events, and the city really winds up getting the credit because they think it's a city event, but it's really a chamber
This
event.
event in particular always feels like it's a city event.
It's a city event, and it's so, and we wind up with the benefit of exposing our great city, so. Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 11 is waive bid requirements and approve the purchase of 3 replacement vehicles from Allen J. Automotive per the pricing terms and conditions of the NJPA contract number 120716-NAF on piggyback 17-002D. This contract was originally awarded on January 16th, 2017 and expires January 17th, year 2021. Allen J. Automotive has provided a quote for 3 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 pickup trucks for our fleet at a cost of $22,822 per truck. Funding for the replacement of these vehicles has been included in the fiscal 2018-19 capital budget, specifically in facilities and water operating fund D&C, general ledger, and staff recommends approval.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
I want one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12 is authorize the city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding between the City of Oldsmar and DFMAR LLC for mixed-use development. The requested motion is to authorize me to sign an MOU between the City of Oldsmar and the aforementioned LLC for mixed-use development to be constructed on approximately 7 acres of city-owned property located at the corner of State Street and St. Petersburg Drive. The first step in our development process per Land Development Code, Section 14.7, is a written request from a proposed developer to the city manager indicating a desire to develop property in the city along with a summary description of what is proposed. DFMAR LLC recently sent such a letter to the city manager indicating such a desire. The letter is attached and briefly describes the proposed project. In order to move forward towards an actual development, we will still need a development agreement and a purchase and sale or a document that addresses how the property will be conveyed if not sold. The MOU states that we will only negotiate with DFMAR LLC for the next 6 months. All of the specifics of the development will still have to be approved by council. Approval of this MOU will start that process in earnest. City manager and city attorney will represent the council in negotiating a development deal. Staff recommends approval, and Mr. Semch is here if you have any questions for him.
For discussion, motion? Second?
Second.
Questions? I know I have
Yes,
one.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, start with you, go ahead.
I'll just make a statement first. If we contracted with somebody, it would probably take 6 months anyway to get the thing done. But I want to make it very clear from seat one on my vote, make it very clear that whatever the council decides tonight, seat one will not vote for this thing in the end. If money or if land is given, you give any land up, I'm against it. During your negotiations, I don't want any of that. I personally do not want the city to give anybody any land because they think they're going to get it. Let's say, give you an illustration. Over here, we thought we would give some part of the land away for a parking garage. That ain't going to happen. Not with this seat. That down there is worth a lot of money, and we need to get that money out of it and not give any of it away. Did I make myself clear?
I think you did.
Yeah. Other than that,
Vice Mayor?
I got a problem with this, but I'll go along with the council with that caveat that I ain't giving any land away for nothing.
Vice Mayor?
I respect your opinion. I don't know that I disagree. I do think that there will ultimately be horse trading done on different parts of development, and I think that's pretty normal.
In some development, but not there.
If somebody else is paying for a city parking lot, it's 6 to 1, a half dozen the other. I mean, sell them the land and we pay for the parking lot, give them the land, they pay for the parking lot, you know, but to your point's well taken. I guess the value proposition is probably the best way to put it. I did have a question for the developer. Francisco, can you come on?
Francisco Semch, 6912 West Limeville, Tampa, Florida, 23625.
Good evening.
Thank you.
First off, sorry to hear about your loss. I just heard about that from Al. So
thank you.
Yeah, listen, I think this isn't directed at you. This is kind of along the lines with Jerry. I think in principle, it's not a good practice for us to enter into anything that encumbers any of our property when we haven't seen even a concept plan. And I would say that if I am to support this, that is not a precedent. That
absolutely not.
Because I do think that's a mistake. And I would ask you, I understand your concerns over your proprietary designs, and I know you have an investment into the preparation of that and other things, obviously, to get to the point where you want to enter into this memorandum of understanding. But what I can't understand, just from a practical standpoint, right? So if we don't approve this, then I would assume you're not going to pursue working on that because of your concern that somebody else could come in behind you after you've invested and spent money to build out a plan and concept plans and probably research. I know there's some issue about how much of the land is actually usable, how much of it isn't, those types of things. That's stuff that'll get vetted through with the city manager. But if we do approve it, we're locked up for 6 months. And even if somebody came with an alternate plan, which we ultimately are going to see regardless, right? We're going to see it to approve it and discuss it. I don't understand what the difference is of showing us a concept plan so that we can feel more comfortable about what we're encouraging the city manager to go spend time working on with you.
Well, to me, it's kind of a simple process of doing things in the right way for us. If we secure, like when you put a land on the contract, you know that that land won't be sold, so you can do your due diligence and spend your time with some security that that's still there. So that's the major reason of the MOU. Now, the design part of it, if it's not approved, we disclose it. So we lost part of, of our leverage of having our creative ideas exposed to the public without having any agreement.
But if you lock us up, you know, it's all in one, right? We're going to vote on it tonight. I will say this, you did an excellent job, I think, of giving us a really good description of what you intend to propose.
Eric, if it's approved, in the next 6 months, you'll see it.
Well, I would think, because it's over in 6 months.
Yes. Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, after it's approved, we will have the information available, we'll show you how to workshop, everything will be in place to kind of support the MOU and the description that we have. So we will make it public after we have 6 months secure that you guys will only negotiate with us.
I'm not aware, I mean, there are some other possible scenarios out there for that property today. I understand that. And it sounds like, based on what you've put in your written plan, yours is the most desirable. Having said that, I would think that you would feel more comfortable knowing that the people who are going to vote on it, I mean, you heard the comments earlier about School Street. You heard the councilman talk about School Street. We echo those views. So if you showed a concept plan right now that had School Street in there, we'd be going.
Other than a path.
Right. You know, and I realize it's the cart before the horse and everything else, but still, I would think you would have more comfort knowing that, okay, they saw the concept plan, it's not the final plan, and they approved it. Okay, we're on the right track. Before I go spend the money that you're going to invest, I would assume, to validate whatever designs, where they'll fit, where there might be issues with land and floodplains and those types of things. So to me, it's just, I had this conversation with Tom the other day, and, you know, in the norm of cities that there is no normal. But, so, anyhow, I still respectfully, I'm not in your business, I understand that, but it doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't want us to take a look so that you at least have a higher confidence level before you go spend this money to vet out the time and everything else to come to an agreement. Just doesn't make sense to me, but.
Well, I would hate to buy a car and never see it until after I bought it.
They'll pull it in the driveway, and then I can either send it back or, you know, decide that it's something I want. And I think that's a good analogy. It's like, okay, what are you bringing to my house kind of thing.
Yeah, I think in a way we did that with city manager Felicia, and
but he doesn't have a vote. He has to negotiate it, but he doesn't have a vote on it.
Right. The point to me is that I agree that as soon as we have an agreement, everything becomes public. But if we, for some reason, you guys decide not to move forward, we expose that up front.
Wait, so are you saying that unless you come to an agreement that's approved, you don't intend to show the plan? Because that will never happen, I guarantee you.
No, that's not what I heard. I think I heard that if the memorandum of understanding didn't get approved.
Oh, so you're talking about
he
this.
would expose it and the risk would be his.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
Am I correct?
Exactly, that's the process. The agreement is in place. We have 6 months. We take the risk for you guys to like it or not in 6 months to spend our money to put the whole package together.
Yeah, and listen, you have an excellent reputation here. It's not a question of that. It's just a matter of practical, you know, I'm not in the habit of approving something that locks up an asset, not 100% knowing, other than a well-defined description, which I think you did do a good job in it. But it's just kind of, I'll say this, because I'm hoping there's other people watching and listening and knowing that there's other things we'd like to go get developed. This isn't the way it's going to happen normally.
Well, I've known, how long have I known you?
15 years.
Or longer?
Or longer.
Or longer. And I don't mind dancing with you, but I want my band to be playing the music and not your band. And
Yeah, well, if
How's
I may,
that?
You're full of all kinds of analogies tonight.
Who needs poems? Just
That's right. We don't need any
analogies.
stinking foam.
I say however the council wants to go, but I want you to understand, we're not giving you any land, we're not giving you any money, and School Street stays closed. Other than that,
Let's just negotiate the entire agreement.
I guess I have a question similar to Mr. Beaverland's and Mr. Seidel's is, tying up the asset like that and then, and also the value of it. And you've already said that if we don't approve the memorandum of understanding that we're probably going to move along anyway. So to that point, I have a question. First, my question is to Al, if we, and I think I understand this correct, if an unsolicited offer or two, which has happened, comes forward, this agreement does not affect our ability to know that those have been brought forward.
That's correct. You will know about whether they're not going to, if we agree to the MOU, there will be none of them solicited. If some comes unsolicited, it's my job to make sure you know about them. I have told Francisco that, he accepts that. That's the way that'll be. You will find out about everything that gets presented. The only difference will be if you don't approve the MOU, we would be more able to solicit one. That's pretty much the difference.
And, God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but to use Councilmember Beaverland's analogy, man, that pains me. This dance that we're going to is not a free dance. And I guess my question is, if your pro forma numbers tend more to lean towards the free dance than the market value of that property, I just don't want to waste our time or your time. If the value of the land in some way, shape, or form, to Eric's point, it is not anywhere near what the market says it is, I mean, are we wasting time?
Well, the site has its complexities, and Stantec already is doing a study for you guys. It's doing a task order because it's in the floodplain. So that's another reason to. We're waiting for that for a few weeks, and probably it's going to be released pretty soon. We were expecting for that to be released earlier, and it didn't happen. So that's a major point of information about the value of the property also. But it's not less like that. You know, a project of this size has their own numbers game. There's a lot of components that comes with something like this. And all those components will be explained, exposed, discussed. And when you guys see the return for investment, how we see it, how you guys would like to see it, we will come to an understanding and hopefully a good negotiation that both parties will be good at it. But it's not as simple. It's not a house.
I completely understand that. But as a steward of the taxpayers' dollars, you know, we're not in the habit of giving away land.
And
the Hayes Park Village was not by any means a land giveaway.
And listen, Al's been very clear about that with us.
Right.
Why am I not surprised about that?
So we understand where you're coming from, and our goal is make the city, you know, a happening place. Sure. You guys, it's time to do this, and we do our best to have a project that will make sense.
Sure.
And that at the same time can be there for a long time, not just a test and suddenly because it's too expensive, nobody's going to come. We won't get into that business to make a project fail.
To that point, has your team vetted this fairly well to know that there is an interest for this type of a project?
Yes.
Okay. I assume so. Okay. Any other questions, Dan?
Sure. I just want to say that I thank you for your time in getting this project started. I personally am looking forward to seeing what you have to offer, and I don't have a problem with anything that you, in your memorandum. That's all I wanted to say.
I did have one more question,
Yeah.
if you're done.
I'm done.
Has anybody on here, on the council, seen this plan?
No.
This council plan? I just was making sure.
Just
Anybody, including
Except Al,
well,
I realize
Al
that.
and Felicia,
And I'd like
and
to
Marie,
comment.
and Marie Dolphin also.
Gabby, you got anything? And then
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I don't have an issue with MOU. I understand it's, you know, the reason for it. So we all like to see things up front, and we all have a lot of opinions.
Yeah, I look at the property that we did one. We at least
Yes.
saw something that right now we're kind of approving it based on this.
Yeah,
you know, so.
yeah. But
I drew it.
Yeah, oh, did you? Yeah. That's true. Did I have it upside down? I'm sorry.
Horrible.
Horrible.
But I look forward to it, and I do know that you understand our expectations, and you've worked with the city on many different projects. So I have high hopes for what you bring forward, but we'll see.
Well, I'm sure he'll bring something good forward. He always has. I mean,
Yeah.
I've known him forever, and
Al?
he's always been.
Comments or questions? Or
Three
statements?
things just for council consideration. A, as I said, or as you guys said, I've seen it. I think you're going to love it. B, I've also met with Francisco's backing, which is very strong and has made me a lot more confident in the likelihood of success of this project. And it's local. And C, Francisco, if I can take one liberty to satisfy the people of Arlington, we are not contemplating any effect on Arlington at all. No punch through.
That's correct.
It's not in the, I heard you, and I wouldn't tolerate that from what I heard from council, and I believe Francisco would be willing to admit that that was part of his plan, but frankly, I think you're gonna love it.
Well, that's what I say. I would vote for this, as long as he understands where I'm coming from.
Well, I think collectively as a council,
Yeah, we're not going to give any land away.
Yeah. Anything else?
So thank you.
Tom, do you have any thoughts or comments? I know you've kind of been a part of this process.
Well, it's always a moving target, depending upon the economics and so forth. But in my conversations with the vice mayor, it was, I was trying to reassure him that, there is no standard in all the municipalities I represent. It depends on the developer, it depends on the land, it depends on location, it depends on so many different factors. And the way that I saw this MOU was this is basically just taking this property off the market for 6 months. And ultimately, he can spend all of his money and prepare everything for you, and you can say no, and you can move on to the next person who may be doing the same thing at the same time, waiting for that 6-month process to be completed. So I didn't really see there's no real exposure to the city in doing this, except that you're just saying, I'm taking it off the market.
Well, it's technically not on the market, but we're dancing with you, but as has been indicated, we still can get unsolicited
Absolutely.
things from other
Well, I
people.
don't have a problem with it, as long as he understands.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, one question, one quick question, and I don't know if this even makes sense, and I've kind of asked this, and I don't know if you've thought about it, but if there, and I don't really know, I guess maybe I do know a little bit about some of the unsolicited. Is there any opportunity for them to be incorporated into that, or maybe is that not even a viable alternative?
No.
Has that been discussed?
It is. No, it hasn't been discussed with anybody, but it could be an opening for.
Okay, because if it makes it a stronger, even a stronger product.
So why don't we go ahead and vote on this?
All right, I only got 3 meetings left, so I'd like to run them if that's okay with you. So thank you. Thank you for your concern, though.
Plus that 10% finder's fee is,
Yeah. So. Whatever. I know your wife's here and you're trying to get home with her, but. Any other questions?
No.
Concerns? I need a motion.
We already did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
What's
have
not? Yeah. Sorry, John.
Did you have a chance to comment?
Well, we did it at the public, but it's not a public hearing, but go ahead, John. Here, come on.
Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Dave Tilkey. I know.
Dave Tilkey, 505 Arlington Avenue East.
With these bright lights, you can.
One thing I didn't see in the MOU was any kind of timeline or deliverables. What's going to happen over the next 6 months as far as what we are all going to see? Is it going to go right up to the last minute and then a project be brought forward for you to say yes or no?
I can answer that. Okay.
Timeline?
The MOU, my understanding of the MOU is there's 6 months from the effective date to strike a deal that's approved, period. So anything that you remember from the last time we did this with another developer means in order for that to work, we have to have a deal approved by council in that 6-month period. So I don't see any way it's even possible to wait for the last minute for them to see anything, because while you could argue we're taking the property off the market for 6 months, you could also argue the pressure's on him to make sure we get a deal. So the deal has to be approved in order for it to be a commitment within that 6-month period.
And I would think that, and I'm not speaking for Francisco, but I would think sooner rather than later, things need to start to materialize to allow conversations to go back and forth between the city attorney, the city manager, the council, and you to tweak it and hone it in, I would assume. Is that?
Well, once we get it, we're going to make a decision pretty quick.
Well, I think, I envision maybe there might be a workshop or something. I don't know.
We'll put it in front of you so that you'll get to make a decision within the 6 months.
Okay.
We won't be doing anything at the last minute.
Does that answer your question, Dave? Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Anything else? No, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did we have a motion in a second? Yes. Okay, who motioned it, who seconded it?
I did it under my thing. You didn't get a
You did
motion
first,
and
I
a second.
second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay.
You'll keep me honest.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Francis.
Thank you.
Next.
Been sleeping over here, I don't know.
You were trying to run the meeting. That's what it was.
I only have 3 more meetings to go with you.
I got
I have
it.
only 3 more meetings too.
I got to bust your chops when I can. Anything else?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Look at that. City clerk.
Right, well, tonight, I'm asking you to authorize the city attorney to prepare a resolution appointing the canvassing board to declare the results of the March 12th election, because rumors are true, we have an election coming up. And the city charter provides for city council to appoint themselves to the canvassing board or qualified electors as needed. The canvassing board will be meeting on March 19th at 6 o'clock here in council chamber. Mayor Vivas can at that point be on the canvassing board because he's a qualified elector. However, we need to have a replacement for Councilmember Beaverland as he is running opposed in the election. So we need a qualified elector to take his place. Al Braithwaite could be that person if you'd like, but that's what we need to figure out tonight.
You mean I can't be on it?
You cannot.
You can't. Yeah, you can't
Al, you wanna
canvass your
do
own
it?
vote.
Al,
This
you
isn't
wanna do it?
Chicago. So do you want us to approve Dan, Eric, myself, Gabby, and Al? Is that what you're looking for, the resolution? Do we want to add Al as the one more qualified?
It's going to come back as a resolution. It'll come back to you.
But we're adding
you
Al
just-
to it.
You're just giving me direction on how to prepare it.
By consensus?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
let's
we
do
have
it.
one to fill, so are we saying
Yes.
fill it with Al?
I guess Al's
Qualified?
okay.
Yeah, qualified?
No, Al's good.
Maybe, maybe not, but he's what we got.
Okay.
All right, there's your consensus resolution with Al being the one more pseudo-qualified.
Thank you.
Probably rather have his wife, she's a crystal, huh?
Might be a thought.
Anything else? You got your, what you want?
That's all I had. That was my one shiny moment.
One shiny moment. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Glad to have you back, as always.
Thanks.
Approve a date and location for the annual planning conference. I got nothing, because I won't be there. What's the date? I don't know.
Well, there are
April 5th
two
and 12th?
choices. There's April 5th and April 12th, and there's different
Let
locations.
me look at my calendar. Oh, yep, they're all good for me.
Aren't members of the public allowed to attend?
Yeah, oh, I
You
can
could
show up.
attend, you could sit in.
I requested the 12th specifically for the Fenway.
Yeah.
Gabby and I
I'm
were there for a meeting that was unrelated to the city, and both kind of walked away from that going, that would be a good place to have our
Yeah,
conference.
it's a neat location.
It is a great building, but.
And it's supports the new business and hotel in the county too, so we certainly like that aspect as well.
I assume there's a cost associated with it as opposed to.
sure there is.
Yes, there are. The only problem is we probably can't get a real valid comparison because I think the cost for the Fenway is worked into the food. So it just kind of depends on, we order food when we were at Brooker Creek. The facility was free, but we order food. So it might be 6 of 1. And we're not using USF this year, so that'll be $500 savings either way.
Are we self-facilitating again?
Well, the only issue I have between the two dates is we had tentatively started the process of securing Brooker Creek, and I'd asked Scott McGuff to moderate, as he has for the past at least 2 or 3 years. He was available on the 5th, but when we added the 12th to the equation, he's not available on the 12th. So I instructed or asked or begged Felicia that if Scott was unavailable and was acceptable to council, that Felicia would moderate if we go to the Fenway.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's not my.
I don't have a problem with either dates.
I mean,
Do you need a motion?
We need a consensus.
What's your preference?
If I'm here, I don't care. I'm with you all.
So can we go by consensus on the 12th? I don't hear anybody objecting.
No.
Do you have a preference? Any?
Both of them are good with me, so.
No, I move we have it on the 12th.
Thank you.
12th it is.
Sorry, Felicia.
Putting you to work.
She'll handle it.
We're gonna have to make it a really tough planning session for it. I'm gonna have to really get this
Where's it gonna
Spitfire
be
out that day.
now?
Fenway Hotel in Dunedin.
Edgewater Drive.
April
Edgewater
12th.
Drive, right by the marina, down by the marina.
Where it is, it used to be a
The old college.
school.
The old college.
It was a hotel, then a
Hotel.
school, and then,
At what time?
Thought we were going to see the Red Sox.
all right, you got
Is there a
your,
Blue Jays game that day?
No, not that late. Not in April, I'll be done.
I know. So there's our date. Next is council comments.
we gonna vote on this one?
Or just, no, we're not voting.
Just consensus, okay.
I mean, unless you want to run, you want me to have a vote for, just for you, Gary?
I might.
All those in favor of the 12th. Next item is council comments. I'll start with the former mayor, Mr. Beaverland.
Okay, well, I've just got two things. In 1970, when I was on council, out of the council chambers when it was over here downstairs. And there was a couple of things I took, and there's a story behind both of them, or three of them. But anyway, they were going to throw the original safe away. And I had already gotten in a little bit of trouble by taking something else, and I didn't want to give Homer and Ward anything to argue over with me. Because I told them before, you do it one more time, I'm gonna take you both outside. Anyway, so I offered, the safe is a regular safe, and it's 1898, 18 something, and that was the original safe in the council chambers for the city clerk, because her office was in there too, also. Anyway, I talked with Al yesterday, and I'm giving it back to the city. And I said, do you want it in there, or do you want it in the Oldsmar Historical Society? And tonight he said, safe to Historical Society. Makes the most sense. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
So,
It's exciting.
Is there money in it?
He promised there would be.
wasn't money in it when I got it.
Well, that's not what I care. Is there money in it now?
So I told Al it's gonna take 6 of their guys, so the first part of next week, they can come and pick it up, and
What'd they keep in it before? I'm just curious. Money?
they kept their documents and their money, yeah. There was a lot of documents. In fact, a lot of the documents were stored up here when it was a, and I came in one day when I was mayor, and the city clerk was throwing every damn thing out the window.
Jesus.
Into 2 dumpsters. No, not her. And one dumpster was, they weren't the big ones, but was hauling everything off, and I got so damn mad. I mean, I chewed people up like that. You cannot believe they're throwing all our records away. They threw the original Oldsmar records away. And what was left, I told them, and we saved what was left. So that's what they kept. They kept their valuables, they kept their records in it, and the money, of course. Down there in the annex, the council chambers was out front, and the city clerk's office, their shelf was in the back, and that's where the safe was. And so, come Monday or something, I was gonna send some guys over, and they're gonna.
I'm busy, Al. I'm
You're gonna take that along with all the other artifacts?
Shoulders acting
You can
up,
put it in my
sorry.
truck. We'll get it over there.
I wanted to give it back before I die.
We'll come over and get it, Jerry. You pick a day at a time, we'll come over,
He did, he
okay?
said Monday.
Oh, Monday, this next coming Monday?
No, yesterday.
You're just full of it, yeah.
You can tell he's a short timer now.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Well, we gotta get 6 guys together
Have you
first.
seen this guy? Nothing's changed.
Are you gonna help move it?
I'll take care of it.
When's he gonna start crying?
All right.
I'll take care of
I think so.
So that damn thing, that thing's,
Anything else?
it's that thick. Thank you for who you are.
We wanted to take a vote on that, so go ahead. Councilmember?
I just had one thing, just kudos to Al and Felicia for the innovation team.
Yeah, it's great.
Working for Cisco, they actually do like I think it's annual. It's an Innovate Challenge where any employee can submit ideas and you build a team and you try to get approved. And unfortunately, with a company that big, you're competing with 500 other employees, and most of them engineers, and some really great ideas using artificial intelligence and things that I would never come up with. So a lot of times I'll submit things for process improvements, and I feel like my voice never really gets heard because I'm competing with so many other really, really smart people. And so it's nice. I think the team is a great idea so that like everybody's idea doesn't get lost in translation and then nothing gets done.
Well, they're part of the process, which is what's
Yeah,
so
which
cool
is
about it.
awesome. I love it. And when you first mentioned the idea, I thought it was wonderful. And I'm happy to see all the things they've done, and I look forward to all the future things that the other teams are going to do. And I mentioned to Al at the last meeting, I need to send him a note on it, that when the elementary school principals were here, I had a thought of it might be neat to do like a junior innovation team where we actually almost do like an innovation challenge with the schools. And maybe there's a prize or something that we can give, whether that's in the form of scholarship or something, because there's probably some really smart kids out there in our community, or even smart parents that might have some great efficiency ideas or innovation ideas for the city that we wouldn't have thought of as a company, as an organization. And so I told him I'd send him a little note, but maybe something we could talk about at a future meeting. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I attended the library's 100-year celebration, their centennial celebration. That was absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe the amount of people that were there. The best part about it was the ice cream and the cake.
What a shock.
At the end, I just want to say kudos to Becky. She did a great job as the MC for the whole day for the event. And then at the end, she allowed me to pick the winner of Jerry's 4 books.
But you didn't pick me. I was like waiting for the call.
And the funny thing about it was I picked Jerry to win the books.
Like it was out of a hat, or?
It was a big bowl of all these tickets, and I just picked it out, and Jerry won the books, his own books. So then we picked again, and then Becky won.
Why did you pick again?
Because you didn't want them.
He's already read them.
You're right. Is that why we picked again? Because you said go ahead and give them to somebody else.
I did.
How did his name end up in the bowl?
Bought tickets.
He bought tickets.
Bought tickets to help out the help cause. So then, and Becky, I guess, bought a lot of tickets, and she ended up winning.
$125 worth.
Yeah, she wanted it, so I'm glad I picked her name. That was the one thing I wanted to say. And then the last thing I want to just say, Cindy, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, I don't know how to thank all you guys for all your hard work of what you guys do for our city. You're just an amazing organization. Paul and I went through a little spell over the holidays, but you guys are just fantastic, and I just want to thank you to everybody on your staff for all your hard work. You guys are truly an asset to the city of Oldsmar, and thank you. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Nice comments.
Yeah.
I just have a couple of things. One, kudos to the entire team who worked on the library celebration. It was a women's club, it was the Friends of the Library, it was a lot in the staff at the library who participated and helped. It was a really nice event. It was a much nicer, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it not to be nice, but it was a lot nicer than I would have ever imagined. It just was really well attended. It was really cool to see some people that you haven't seen in a long time who were there, and so it was a really nice event. Also, I wanted to thank our staff for the extra effort putting into hosting our county school board here. It was really nice to have, and I'm going to give the mayor props also on part of this, because he brought out the tourism group who came out and met here, and then now to have the school board meet here. I think it just really is great for our citizens to be able to get a little closer to people who they are representing them. But to our staff, thank you for putting it on. We have the staff of the school board set up in the back room there where they could have it on the screen and they could, log into their computers. It was just a really nice setup. I know they greatly appreciated it. So I just wanted to make a point of pointing that out. The economic forum was terrific, mentioned that earlier. And then let's see, what is the last thing I have on my comments here? Who's zoom in on that? Where's that at?
Yeah, zoom right in on that. Good. Yeah, zoom in on his face.
Oh, there he is. So the chamber and I are co-hosting an event, a charity roast, honoring the mayor.
I'm gonna get you good.
And you can go to the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber site to buy tickets for it. It's gonna be at Nielsen. It's on
Deputy
April
Cackler,
10th.
can you sit by my side at this roast?
It's at April 10th. It's April 10th. It's a morning event. It starts at 7:30. And we had a hard time getting the date right. So I'm going to apologize to Council Member McGee because it fell right on a day that had I been thinking, I would have known she couldn't have made it to. And so she's really upset, but we have plans for that. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't
you
worry,
are not
Doug,
off
I'll
the
get you earlier.
You can write it down, and then you can read it.
He is not off the hook.
visual.
But, this is the funds that we raise. The mayor is a board member for the Holiday Sharing Fund. And so we've selected that as that's where the funds are going to go. And so it should be a really nice event. It should be a lot of fun. You know what's funny?
No, what?
Sometimes you do something like this and you have nothing to say. Then there's other times where the list is growing. It's like, who wants to get in where? And you got like a 3-minute slot. So please let Mark Howe or myself know we're pretty well full, but we'll move people around. But it should be a nice tribute to the mayor.
Sure, you can be
I just checked my schedule. I'm busy on the 10th.
It'll be a nice event. And by the way, Mark Howe was the one who did this.
Oh, I bet it was.
So, but that's all I got, Mr.
There's Dean in the background, too. Look at old Dean back there.
Yep.
That was our holiday sharing softball tournament. Actually.
There you go.
Yeah, so, anything else?
That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I don't have a lot. It's all been said. The Economic Development Summit, for lack of a better term, was great. I think the community was energized by it and the direction that we're going. Hopefully it's the first step of many. I had talked to Mayor Bajowski, was talking to her from Dunedin about something else, and I prefaced it by our economic development idea that Felicia had and that she put on. And it was very similar to a DOT, the one that we went for transportation. And I don't know, has Dunedin done anything? Like, she was kind of thought it was pretty cool that we had done something similar to the economic development thing.
No, it's not been done there.
Yeah, so she liked it. She liked the idea. I mean, she's a very forward thinker and very driven for the city. So at any rate, that was kind of a nice compliment that she gave us. Interesting. As I do most mornings, I go from the gym to City Hall and then to the chamber. And sometimes if I have time, I drive around the city to see what's going on. And surprisingly, I went down to the pickleball court and was down there for about 45 minutes or an hour. That place was packed. And I mean, we could probably add 2 more courts and fill them up and use them. And they're out there. They're holding leagues. And Al and I are going to play. Are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same team or against each other?
Going to get the fence higher.
How much different is it than paddle tennis? Is it pretty similar?
Paddle tennis?
I think
don't
the
know.
ball is the difference.
The ball is like a wiffle ball.
It's like a wiffle ball.
Okay, all right. Paddle tennis is like
We also play it
foam tennis ball.
indoors at the
Rec center?
Cypress Rec Center too. But I'm told that people like it better outdoors.
Yeah.
It's
It
great.
works better from the gym floor, like it works better outdoors.
Yeah, it looked good. I don't know if they were. Only thing I saw was maybe a fence on the whatever side that would be the tennis court side, because when they hit them that way,
It goes in the
they go off and onto the basketball court. I don't think it needs.
Incrementally improve it. We added the benches late at a suggestion of some of the people that used it.
Yeah.
I want a bigger fence because I'm sure I'm going to hit it in the lake. We'll probably add a fence to the other side. We'll keep improving.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, picnic table probably down there wouldn't be, half bad because they bring drinks and stuff and give them a place to, but they were queuing up to play. So that was interesting. And so the day that I was there, I was whipped around to the Environmental Education Center and check on the zip line, went into their new office for the Empower Adventures. Real nice setup over there if you haven't been over there. And so I'm standing there talking to the girl from Empower Adventures, and I'm looking over towards the water towers, towards the lake, and there was probably about 30 people, maybe in their 20s, standing around. And I said to her, what in the heck is going on over there? They're all like this. And I said, what are they doing? Pokemon Go?
Oh, that's still a thing?
I guess it's back and in full force. But
Wow.
Pokemon Go. So I mentioned it to Al. I actually downloaded the app onto my phone because I said, that could be alarming to some people. I was talking to the girl at Empower, and they turn off certain of the things as the night gets on so it doesn't, create safety problems. But, all of a sudden you see, and then all of a sudden when they're done doing whatever they do wherever they're at, they all kind of, then they moved over to the boat ramp and they were doing.
How do they go?
Over to the boat ramp, and then they're down. There's a ton of them. And the coolest part of the whole thing, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
He might have been asleep over there.
I'm wrapping it up, but you'll appreciate this. There are a couple of really cool things. It's a game that you play on your phone. And there are landmarks that you go to. One of them is the Historical Society downstairs, and it shows the logo. There's one at South Mobley Preserve. There's one right here at the entrance to State Street. And you go and you collect points when you get near them and do something. And so I was wanting to see where they were in the city, so at least I knew when you start seeing congregations. There's a ton of them at R.E. Olds Park that are in there, gargoyles and monsters that you fight and all that kind of stuff. But very cool. Janice Miller Dog Bark is in Pokemon Go with her sign, which is very cool. I have a picture of it. Don Bohr at Veterans Memorial Park, I sent that to his son. I said, he's in Pokemon Go. I bet he never thought he'd be in a video game. And then Corporal Gross is actually in there, and his plaque. And I haven't found everything else, but kind of neat that they're memorialized in a video game that Don would have had he'd been like you.
He's underestimating you.
I'll show you the pictures, but it's neat though that it's right in there. So anyway, if you
What do
see.
you think he does in his free time?
Oh, he plays Pokemon Go. I know, right, Wanda? I see him out there in all capital letters.
I can't even operate that.
We know you can't.
In red.
Yeah, in red. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So if you're out and about and you see people, Cindy, have you had any issues with?
We haven't had any issues, but we've seen a lot of people congregating, especially at R.E. Olds Park.
The girl at the Empower said that it died off for a while, but it's back and in full force. And
Recently, it just came back.
Yeah, just recently. And so it was kind of weird because I was turning into the park, Bicentennial, and all of a sudden I see, because there's, where the statue is with the two kids sitting on the brass kids. So I'm kind of over by the pickleball thing, and these low rider cars are coming in real slow. And they're going real slow because you've got to stop your car.
You get ready to hit the dirt, just in case.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so you got to sit there long enough at that bench to swirl something, and then you get points and all. But you can't drive away from it, or you won't get the points. So they're all. I'm like, what is going on? We're getting attacked. But anyway.
How'd they go?
I know, too much caffeine.
Yeah, mark this date.
So anyway.
The sound effects.
8:58.
Your sound effects is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Almost as good as your analogies, huh? Yeah. Anything else, Kathy? How's Steve doing?
He's recovering slowly.
Yeah.
Progress.
I saw him post something about fishing the other day. He must be watching fishing shows till he's blue in the face.
Thursday through Sunday, nonstop.
Huh?
Thursday through Sunday.
Nonstop. I expect him to maybe flood one of your bedrooms and fish in there. Anything else, Tom? You got anything?
No, sir.
How's life?
Life is good.
Good.
The gavel.
Your wife wrote a really good poem, too. No, just kidding. I know. Hey, I only got 3, so there.
Making it count.